Hi, this is Stephanie Ortega, and you're listening to the Remix Movement Podcast. All right, this is episode number 4.
This is number 4.
Can you hear me, Lewis?
I hear you just fine.
Oh, okay, good. We're just trying to make sure everything is working.
Everything's working fantastically.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for following us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube.
Thank you
on
very,
Apple.
very much. Yes.
We appreciate it. The month of January has just passed by, right?
It flew with quickness. Yes.
It did. It just went right by. And we have been consistent. We've been doing the podcast weekly, and everything is working great. How are you liking it so far, Lewis?
I'm enjoying this.
I am too.
Are you?
It's a really nice break in the middle of the week where we can just kind of like talk.
Yeah. I mean, share each other's, stories and kind of like we did last week. And, the challenges are fun. And
yeah. And I mean, for me personally, it's nice to think of like these topics and, kind of get everybody's feedback. I mean, we're getting your comments. We're getting your DMs. I'm seeing you guys search us on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, going into this episode, before we start,
Yes.
I want to ask you, Lewis, because you said in the last episode, I got the testimony that I want to go ahead and share.
Sure. Yes.
All right, so take it away.
Okay, so this happened at work. There's somebody that's starting a new relationship in their life. And it was pretty cool to hear their how their romance started or whatever, and I kind of got to take in the experience that you and I share, the 5 years of marriage, right? And kind of just ease them into not ease them, talk about it so that they can get a good example of what marriage can be like for them.
So did they get engaged? Or are they newlyweds? What is their status?
They're together. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to share their status.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But they're in a relationship?
Yes, they're in a relationship. And
how did that conversation start? Hey, Lewis, tell me how it feels to be married.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's how it started. I don't remember the exact way it happened. But that's where the conversation was going. So
okay.
I got to throw in a few seeds, and I hope they took I hope my words were, encouraging. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. Thank you. I didn't know that you talked to people about our marriage.
I mean, yeah, there's things that just come out of nowhere, and I go ahead and talk about it.
That's nice. Well, you guys, we actually are going to make 10 years together as boyfriend and girlfriend / married.
I don't think that counts.
In March. It does count because a lot of people in their relationships, they stop and they go, and they stop and they go, and they come together and they break up and they get together, and they're not really sustaining it.
I don't know if you could say a lot of people.
Well, I know a few people. I mean, I know this, the generation now is
you're making another assumption.
It just seems like that. I have friends like that.
No,
I'm speaking from personal experience. There's friends that I have that they do that.
Well,
and
if your friends are listening right now, they're probably wow, is she really talking about me?
No. But listen, honestly, guys, my advice is, if you're with somebody, stay with them. Don't break up with them. Don't take a break. See how it is, because that gives you really good practice for marriage.
Well, I mean, everybody has their reasons.
Yeah, but if you're trying and it's the relationship that God wants for you, instead of bickering and being mad, they should just go ahead and try to stick it out, talk about it, communicate, pray about it, so that they don't have to deal with uncertainty. Me and you, since March 24, 2010, I've never been I don't want to talk to you anymore. We're done. We've never broken up, is what I'm saying. So 10 years.
Well, I mean, that's us.
A lot.
That's us. And that doesn't make us perfect either.
No, it doesn't. But I'm just saying it really helped us out so far in our 5 years of marriage. It helped us out that we didn't have those fights.
I mean, our fights were not too intense, so that helped.
I mean, we're not perfect, guys. We've had fights. And if you know me and Lewis, like, we fight about the dumbest things.
Yeah.
But they're not like, I want to divorce you kind of things, you know?
Right. But that doesn't mean that every other relationship
I know.
has those
I'm
types
trying to give relationship advice like you said in your testimony. So hopefully everybody who's hearing me, you know, if God has you with somebody that you feel in your heart that you're going to be with them for a long time, just before you think about leaving them or giving them space or not talking to them or breaking up or whatever, just like keep the lines of communication open. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's a key.
Keep the lines of communication open. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know what? And I'm kind of glad that we're in this topic. I don't know if your testimony had to do with what we're talking about now, but it kind of goes in what we're talking about.
What are we talking about today, Stephanie?
All right. So on this episode, if you guys saw a lot of the stories on the Remix Instagram and Facebook, it is titled "Doing Life Alone Sucks."
I wonder if anybody got that.
What do you mean?
Like when if they saw your postings on like Instagram or like Facebook, and they said it said what, like, I am not alone, right?
No,
or you are
it
not
said,
alone.
Doing life alone sucks.
Oh, okay, doing life alone sucks. I wonder if they like made the connection, like
That we're gonna talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about friends. Not so much relationships like romantic. Today we're talking about not doing life alone, right?
okay,
So like, I'm just gonna pop the bubble and start with this. In Genesis 2, verse 18, it says, "The Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone." And that is when he made a suitable mate called Eve. Okay?
right.
Now, we can think of this like, okay, God made man, and then he made woman out of her rib, and they formed a relationship, and now they have, you know, a romantic relationship. But what I want to, like, emphasize is God never intended us to live our lives alone, to live our lives in solidarity, to live our lives with no help from other people. Regardless if your relationship is with a friend or a coworker or a grandma or a sister, like, God never called us to do life alone, period. Okay? Like, he always had in mind, like, you need to establish a relationship like Adam and Eve where they talked with each other. They spent time with each other. They connected with each other. They helped each other so that they can, you know, survive in this world. They worked on each other. And basically, like, a relationship with anybody is basically where two people or more are able to establish a bond. Okay?
Okay.
So doing life alone really does suck.
You know, I'm sure there's somebody that can argue that, but I agree with you. I wouldn't want to do life alone.
Well, think about it this way, okay? If you're doing life alone, you can't really talk to anybody about how you're feeling about a certain thing, about a certain event you're going through, about your feelings. You can talk to God about it, and God is always going to be there, and God is going to be there to help you out.
That is true.
But doing life alone without having friends is going to make your life here in this world very difficult.
What kind of friends are we talking about, Stephanie?
I'm telling you, we're talking about friends with people at work, friends with people at church, friends with people that, you know, maybe you have family friends that you've known for a really long time. I know you have a lot of family friends, like you have your godfather, and then you have your cousins, and then you have, you know, your godfather's wife and the family. So they're basically like your friends, right?
Yeah.
And I have my friends. So like I have a best friend, shout out to Brandy, whoop whoop, love you girl. And I have, you know, my sister who's my friend, and I have coworkers that are my friends. But basically, we're talking about just friends that you can establish a bond with.
Yes.
Okay? Now, I do want to share a testimony also. And basically, it has to do with us. We got married and we're at a church. And then that church kind of dissolved. And we started going to another church. And when we went to that second church, we didn't really have friends. Because we were doing church online. And, it's great, guys, to follow people online. It's great, to hear sermons. It's great to give to nonprofits and other churches. All of that stuff is great. I'm not saying it's bad, okay? But when me and you were going to church on Sunday in our living room, we were not establishing a relationship with other people.
That is true.
We missed out on fellowshipping with other people that were our age. We missed out on spending time with people, whether if it was going out for a coffee or going out on the weekend. Like, we did things together in a marriage, but sometimes, like, we don't want to be together all the time. Sometimes I want to spend time with my girlfriends and go out to the spa. Or sometimes you want to go with your guys and you want to be able to go hang out, at a restaurant or something.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, did you feel, I know you felt the same way because we talked about it. Did you feel like, yeah, I'm going to church, but we don't have friends that we can, like, talk to?
I felt a little bit of that.
Right.
I felt like, yeah, I guess we were missing the social aspect of, like fellowshipping with others. And I think it put us in a box.
I mean, it did. And you know what? I think, we didn't grow spiritually to the level that I think God wanted us to because of the fact that we didn't have friends that we can, like, confide in, that we can talk to.
Yes.
Like, if you receive a lot of word, right? And you keep getting fed and fed and fed and fed, but you're not giving anything out. You're not telling people, hey, listen, this is what's going on. Or, hey, I heard this at church and was thinking about you. Like, you're not starting a conversation that is going to transcend that word and turn it into something that'll change your life. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And that's what I mean by, like, once we started going to our church City Lift in Oakland Park, we got to meet a bunch of people, right? We got to meet people that were our ages. We got to meet people that were older than us. Our pastors are amazing.
Yes, they are.
I mean, our pastors are amazing at City Lift, and they help us out, and they text us, and they call us, and, our friends, when we meet each other on Sundays, like, we miss them, like, we engage in conversations, and, like, we grow together, we do life together, and I think that's very important, especially for people that are, struggling with, like, oh, well, what if I don't fit in, or, what if they don't like me? You know what? Like, go ahead and do it. Get out of that box, get out of that solitude, get out of that insecurity, and just, take the time to go to a church or go to a study group or, meet people that are going to lift you up, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, I do want to share 4 tips on how to make sustainable, long-lasting, authentic relationships.
Okay.
Okay.
What's number 1?
All right. So number 1 is, and then chime in if you want to, okay? Number 1 is take initiative.
Okay.
Okay. Take initiative to meet people and start a conversation. Don't wait for them to approach you.
That could be hard for some people.
Yes, it is. And we're on the welcomers team, so we get it. We know how, some people are a little bit, like, timid and shy.
Yeah.
And, like, they don't want to, like, say hi and stuff like that. But you know what? We need to get out of our comfort zone, right? And they always say, ask questions. Like,
yeah.
Hey,
Any question.
Like, okay, hey, Lewis, how was your day?
My day was great, thank you.
And what happened in your day to make it great?
I got to wake up today.
You see? So, like, conversations like that where you ask open-ended questions. And then another thing is, like, when you take initiative, a lot of people think, oh, well, when I go to church, I wait for them to come to me. Right?
I'm sure there's people that feel that way.
There's some people that say that. They're like, no, I don't want to say anything. I want to wait until they approach me. You know what? Go ahead and approach them. Ask them, hey, this is my first time here. Or, hey, this is my second time here. Like, don't wait for people to, like, approach you. Take initiative, And it might be hard at first, but I'm telling you, this is how healthy relationships grow. And this is how the beginning starts, right? It can't start without you saying, hey, my name is Lewis, or hey, my name is Stephanie, and then starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Lewis, the second one is very hard.
Number 2.
It seems really easy, but it's hard. Ready?
Okay.
Listen.
That could be hard. Yes.
Were you waiting for me to say something?
No. Yeah. Your number 2 is listen.
My number 2 is listen.
Yes.
Now, listen to what they have to say and pay attention to details.
Okay.
Okay?
That could be hard for some.
Yes, it is, because there's a lot of people who talk a lot.
There's a lot of people that don't want to listen, maybe.
And there's a lot of people who talk about themselves, you know? And sometimes you just have to listen to other people talk about themselves.
Maybe there's people that talk too much.
Are you trying to say that I talk too much?
No, I'm just saying, like,
You're looking at me like,
I know. Okay, I know a person. I'm not gonna name drop, but I know a person that likes to talk, and that's fine. But it makes things a little bit more difficult for me to stay connected in conversation.
Exactly. So to create a sustainable relationship that is authentic, we have to remember that it's important to listen.
Yes.
Okay. The third one is remember their name.
Number 3.
This is
that
so
should have been
hard.
number 1.
No, well, take initiative is number 1 because you have to, like, you know, meet them in person.
True.
Shake their hand or say hello, wave a goodbye, whatever. You have to take the initiative, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But remember their name. It seems so hard for me at the beginning when I was in Welcomers team.
Sure.
To remember people's names. Like, I know who they are. I know who they look like. I know maybe they have a son, they're single, or they're married. I can get details like that, and I listen to them, but I just can't get their name together.
Yeah, I have a difficult time with that too.
But listen, it's okay. Okay, this is why we're doing these tips to help people out there. They say that if you're having a conversation with somebody and you say their name 5 times within the conversation, it's easier to remember them.
That helps. Yeah.
Okay.
That helps.
So like we repeat back to them their name so that they know that we know their name.
So the problem with that for me is that if I don't see a person, let's say the next day, I've already forgotten. And for those that are listening, and I've forgotten your name, I'm sorry. But it's true though.
It's a work in progress.
It's one of those things that really take, I think, more than effort. Like it takes a lot of it's a lot of effort.
But you know what? Once you make a connection with somebody and you know them and you see them and you talk to them and you get to know them, remembering their name becomes easy.
Yes, that is true.
You know, this is why it says, you know, taking these tips will help you with long-lasting relationships because you're going to grow together, you're going to live together, you're going to be able to establish a relationship where remembering their name is not going to be a big deal at the end.
Yeah.
All right, the last one is
number 4.
Smile and intentionally connect.
Okay.
Okay, and I think this one's really important because sometimes we see somebody, but we don't intentionally connect with them.
Right.
So, for example, if you have somebody that goes to your church and you see them every Sunday, you see, you know, maybe, you know, they have a car, they go to school, and you remember certain details, you remember their name. Like, intentionally connect with them. Say, hey, can I get your Instagram handler name? You know, and then we'll talk on Instagram. Or, you know, can I invite you for lunch after church? Mm-hmm. Or, you know, hey, I'm going to, you know, an event nearby. We both happen to live in the same city. Why don't you come with me? You know, and intentionally connect kind of goes with smile because, you know, when we connect with people don't want to connect with people that are moody, that don't smile, that always have a bad attitude. Like when you intentionally connect with people and you get their contact information, you take it a step further, right?
Yes.
So like you go the extra mile to create this relationship with them.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, I do want to talk about something that's really important here. And I think you're going to understand it, but I'm going to read this verse.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about it because this is something that I was like, we need to talk about this because this is very important when we're talking about relationships, okay? In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, it says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? So what do you get from that verse?
You're going to have to repeat it one more time.
Okay. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness?
Okay.
So, in layman's terms, what does that mean for you?
Like, don't be afraid to make a connection.
Okay. We'll take it first, like sentence by sentence. So basically, this is Paul, and Paul is saying, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. What that means is we need to choose our friends wisely. Okay. We cannot be trying to find friendships with people that are not like-minded. Okay. So for example, if you have a coworker and the coworker is cursing all the time, and he's cursing and he's cursing and he's cursing, he might be a good guy, but he cannot say a sentence without cursing at least 5 times. Okay? That's somebody that you may not want to invest a lot of time with because of the fact that he's not really helping you grow.
Okay.
Okay? And it's a double-edged sword because afterwards it says, for what righteousness and wickedness have in common, what fellowship can light have with the dark? Now, we are called to be a light in the world, right? God calls us to be the difference in the world, to be the salt of the earth, okay? That doesn't mean that we're going to say, well, just because they're not Christian, I'm not going to be their friends. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to choose the people that we spend our time with wisely. We need to be intentional with who we want to pour into our lives and who we want as somebody that we can throw a little seed here and there, and we can pray for them so that God does something. Mm-hmm. But we need to be intentional with spending our relationships with those that are believers, that are Christian, that are trying to, go deeper in their relationship with Christ, and that they're going to pour into our lives as much as we're going to pour into theirs. Okay. So, like, give me an example of, like, let's say, give me an example of what experience you've had with trying to determine who you invest your time with and who you choose to, like, kind of, like, not.
The same example that you gave. Just somebody that curses a lot. Don't really want to, like, associate myself,
Okay. All right. Well, thought you were going to elaborate a little bit more, but that's okay. So not only cursing, but also like bad attitudes, people that may not believe the same thing, right? When it comes to other beliefs, we respect them. I used to have a friend in high school that she was atheist and she was Gothic, and she was my friend, but I didn't spend so much time with her to where her beliefs started turning into my beliefs. And, those are the kind of things that it's a mind battle, but it's also like, I need to make the right decisions so that I can be able to continue to grow in my relationship with Christ, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, that also applies to relationships as well. We always say that when you're trying to seek out relationships with people that are going to be like, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, you want to make sure that you find somebody that's on the same level, that believes the same thing that you do, that Christ is the center of your relationship. I say that to a lot of people that I know. I say, hey, listen, I know that person seems like a good guy or a good girl, but you want to keep in mind, like, your basis of who you are is that Christ lives in you. And if they don't, they do not know that relationship that you have with Christ goes before them, that might not be the best relationship for you to be in. Okay. And then another thing is we should seek out relationships with people that are going to pray for us and that are going to be with us in our time of need. So, like, you don't want to have relationships with people where they're a little bit more selfish and they don't really like to talk about you, right? So we always have one person that's like always talking about themselves and their problems and their situation and seeking out advice, but we don't have, like, friends that are like, hey, no, don't worry about me. Let's talk about you. So kind of have people that are going to be there to pray for you and lift you up, okay? And then moving forward onto this idea Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. I'm just going to read it really quickly. It's 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls and the other one can reach out and help them, but if someone falls alone, then they are in trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. So basically this is saying, your strong relationships are 2 people are better than none. They give great examples of how strong relationships help you out so that you can be able to conquer certain things that you're going through, right? So, last episode we talked about how some people might be struggling with anxiety or might be struggling, with addictions. If they have somebody to lean on, if they have a friendship with somebody who's going to lift them up in prayer and who's going to encourage them and say, hey, it's going to get better, God is in control, then they have a less likelihood of falling back into what they're going through, right? And then one of the things that I saw online is that strong relationships can actually lower your stress levels.
Really? Where did you find that?
I don't have the actual website, Louis, but I did see it.
Okay, no, that's...
but it's true, though.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is true. If you have strong relationships and strong friendships with people, it can actually help lower your levels for stress. It can make you less likely to fall into anxiety or depression. It can improve your self-confidence, and it can increase your happiness.
I believe that. That sounds pretty legit.
Right? So, it's really important, that we don't do life alone. That we don't, try to think oh, well, I'm going through this problem, I'm going to go deal with it by myself. We're not meant to be by ourselves. The gospel says, hey, God created us so that we can come together, so we can lift each other up, And then, to finish, we have some really good friends, like I said, at church, right?
Yes, we do.
We have some really good friends. And I thought it would be really cool to mention a few of their podcasts and blogs or Instagrams.
Okay, shoot.
Okay. They're really good people, and, they're going to definitely encourage you. So obviously, guess what number 1 is?
I don't know.
No? Number 1 is the Remix Movement.
Okay,
the podcast,
number 1.
Okay, our podcast, we suggested to you, if you guys want to get to learn more about me and Louis, on our posts, we put our, personal Instagram handlers in there. You can see who we are. Later on in our podcast, we'll talk a little bit more about what we do. And that's really good. Okay, the second one is called the Salt and Light Podcast with Gary Hearn.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Gary is an amazing guy, right, Louis?
I think so, yeah.
He's a really amazing guy.
Yes, he is.
He is a father to a little boy named Cam. He's a husband to his wife, Ashley. And recently, he's been reviving his podcast. And I've been listening to it, and it's some really good stuff. He's very into the Word of God, and he's very easy to understand. So he actually just released a new episode featuring another friend of ours, Jasmine.
Yeah. And
it's really, really good. So that's another one you guys want to keep an eye out for. Him and his wife, their Instagram is a vegan-inspired Instagram for all of our listeners who are vegan. You can follow them at Planted Hearns on Instagram. And what they do is they show their recipes that they follow, some food reviews. And I think this is something that's light and fluffy for people to listen to. It's going to help you out if you're going through a journey. You're trying to be vegan. You're trying to lose weight. I know Ashley and Gary have been losing a lot of weight. And they even show their son Cam in there once in a while. Sometimes he really does like the food. It's really cute.
Yeah, it is.
And then the last one I want to mention is Catherine Widak. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. But Catherine Widak, she has a blog, and she just recently started getting into psychology. So she's really into psychology. At church, we've been talking a lot about mental health and, how that's really important for the body of Christ and our walk with him. She talks about culture events. She talks about social topics, And, you know, she has a website. It's going to be www.Catherine with a C, Witac, WITAC.com. She's also on Instagram, and you got to follow her because honestly, I've heard some of the stuff that she's talked about and it's so good.
Yeah.
Like
really good.
She used to do movie reviews, and she used to talk about like the psychology in our culture. And, you know, she really encourages you, you know, like she even has a sweater, and her sweater has like a really positive message on it. She goes to church all the time in it. I love it.
The orange one. She just wore one.
She has an orange one and she has a black one.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, guys, like she's so good. Like these are just 4 of the podcasts that we suggest, and they all have to do, like I said, with encouraging you guys. And, you know, they're our friends. So we want to share our friends with you guys. And the challenge for this week is super simple. Out of the 4 podcasts that we went ahead and suggested, or the blogs, pick one of them, listen to at least 3 episodes on them, or read 3 articles on it, and follow their pages and support them.
Definitely.
Okay? Like, one of the best things that we can do in the kingdom of God is support each other. You know, like support each other, share if you like what they're talking about, you know, share if you like their episodes. Mention to them if you see them in person, be like, hey, I really like this. If you encourage them, they're going to keep doing what God called them to do. And it goes the same with us. So like if you send me and Lewis, you know, a comment on Facebook, or you share it, you know, we're going to be appreciative of it, but we're going to feel so good because God is using us. And I think that's the main thing, like allowing God to be able to use what we're talking about so that it can change your life. Right, Lewis?
Yeah.
All right. So, Lewis, do you have anything else you want to say with regards to relationships, with regards to the podcast? Anything else that you want to share?
I mean, no, the challenge sounds great. Like, you know, their encouragement is definitely out there from these 3 podcasts. And, you know, hopefully you can get that from listening or from reading.
Correct. And then, guys, like I said, keep following us on Instagram and Facebook, but hey, do not do life alone. Like, get our you know, Facebook, get our Instagrams, you know, find us on social media, on YouTube, and just connect with people, make friendships that, you know, are going to help you out.
Yes.
So that's all I got to say. Yep. Reach out.
Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and post these 4 tips and a few other things on the Instagram and Facebook. But we thank you so very much for listening to us on this episode number 4.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Remix Movement for more updates. Send us a DM with your feedback, questions, and any topics that you would like to hear in any of our future episodes. Thank you, and God bless.